The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Go Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast live for episode 111, I think. So ones are wild tonight. Ones are wild. Episode 111. We are live as always on YouTube and simulcasting as always over on gunchannels.com. If you're not familiar with gunchannels.com, come on over. The water's warm. We try not to bite too hard, but it's a great pro-gun, pro-two-way community started almost exactly 6 years ago by G-Webs, and it was started by gun owners for gun owners to have discussions just like this. So if you're new to the community or just looking for some friendly faces and some voices that you would probably agree with, come on over and check us out over there. We'd love to have you. For those of you that are watching live, welcome to the show. We hope we don't disappoint too badly. We know we're going to disappoint some, but hopefully we won't disappoint too badly. But if you have a question or a comment for any of us on the panel, we've got some more links out there. So if you're wanting in, let me know. If check your email. I might have already sent you a link, but if you're out there and you want to ask a question to any of us, you can go ahead and tag us in the chat, and we will go ahead and say hello and do all that. If you're watching in replay or listening in podcast form, please utilize the comment section and let us know what you think. Have any questions, any comments, any criticisms? We're always welcome, and we're always happy to hear what you have to say. We've got a good show tonight. This is Veterans Appreciation Week, if you want to call it that. I've heard people say it that. Sunday is November 10th, which is the Marine Corps birthday, Semper Fidelis. And Monday, the 11th, is going to be Veterans Day. We're going to talk a little bit about what Veterans Day is, what it means to us, and then talk a little bit about the rally. We'll probably start out with the rally, kind of recapping the rally a little bit. I got some thoughts on that. I'm sure Clover does as well. And then we will go into a little bit about Wanenmacher coming up this weekend, where a bunch of us are going to meet in Tulsa for the largest gun show in the world. And we've been going as Gun Channels crew for several years, covering it as media, and we'll have 8 to 10 people there covering it this year as well. So before we get going, let's say hello to what is basically turned into our quasi co-host of the Armed Citizen Podcast from the great state of Texas, the tactical virus himself. Leprechaun himself, Clover Tack. What's up, buddy?
I think you need to change that intro.
Okay.
I think it needs to be something like, if you want to know the truth about the gun culture, you need to commit yourself to a psych ward. Or if want to know the truth about the gun culture, ask the Yankee Marshal or something like that.
Yeah. Shit. I don't even want to go down that road, do we?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even want to go down that road. Let's kind of run through. We haven't done this in a long time, so let's kind of run through the room and say hello to everybody out there. George Washington, our first president and Revolutionary War general, is out there. This must be Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's pretty sweet that George Washington's out there, but hello, George. Archangel's out there. Buck's out there. I saw Buck last night. We had our board meeting at the what do you call it? Not board meeting, but I don't know what you would call it. A members meeting and get together, had barbecue at the range last night, and Buck's member at my range, so he was there last night. So what's up, Buck? We got our good friend Patriot in the Dark out there. What's up? Devil Dog. Let's see who else is out there. Scrolling down, Rich White, the 1%'s out there. They're talking about flagpoles and low crawling through the mud. Don't even want to know where that's going, but Kingpin's out there. Andrew Faulkner's out there. Kevin the Tack Daddy Reichard sends a super chat for $1.99. Doesn't say anything though, but thanks for the soda. Appreciate you, buddy. I'll see you in January, hopefully. I think I said Andrew Faulkner. If not, Andrew Faulkner's out there. Snob's wife's out there. Let's see here. I saw some other people jump in. I'm going through the chat on the StreamYard. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same. It's over on the YouTube. So if I miss somebody, I'm sorry. Mad Sexy's out there. Gunpowder Beauty's out there. Let's see here. New York Outcast is out there. And Pancake Boy's out there. So, yeah. So I guess we could probably start. If you guys are out there, check your emails. Some of you guys have links if you would like a link. And let me know, and I can put it out there because I can control who gets in the room. But if you want a link, let me know, and we'll go from there. But we're going to talk a little bit first about the rally. And I sent a link to Budget, and Budget might be working, and Sarge, he might be working. G's on the road, but I figure he might jump in. But
I was disappointed. For years and years and years, Toyota won. Toyota's been the winner of the rally, and for whatever reason, Honda pulled it off this year. I don't know what's going on.
Honda's engines are probably a little bit better in overall than Toyota.
Yeah, I know. It comes down to drivers, I think, ultimately. With
those rallies. It does. And I think a lot of it comes down to tires as well. When you start talking about the rally, you've got to have a really good crew with good tires, and the driver obviously helps. But engine, man, the Honda engine's pretty good.
True.
Yeah. But as far as the rally goes, obviously we had the two-way rally in Washington, D.C. this past Saturday. And, there's been a lot of people that have been talking about the last couple of days, and I'm hearing some good. I'm hearing a lot of bad. And I'm hearing a lot of people talk about being disappointed in the turnout and being disappointed in other things. And I just, good Lord. I wonder, I want to ask you this, Clover, what in the hell can we do? And should we even be trying to make people happy anymore? Because for me, it's the same people that are complaining that this, that, and the other, no matter what you do, they're going to have something to complain. And I understand that there are people out there that are only happy if they're unhappy. But good Lord, I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting to the point to where the people within our own gun community are pissing me off. And I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to say. I don't know if I should just quit caring about trying to do things and all that, because I just get frustrated with the attitudes that a lot of people have within our community.
Well, it only takes that one good conversation, or that, one good person you talk to, and they kind of offsets the whole thing. So you just learn to deal with it.
Yeah, it's one of those that, I hear people talking about the turnout, and they're saying, oh, there was only a couple thousand, and people saying, well, there wasn't a couple thousand. I only saw a couple hundred and all that. And I really, I wish more people would go there. It's not the point, guys. The point of the rally was to have the rally. It makes no difference if there was 5 or 5,000 people there. The point is that in a few short weeks, I would say at the most 5 weeks, they pulled this off, and they got some remarkable people there to speak. They got the West Lawn of the Capitol, where some very huge rallies have taken place. So that's prime real estate when it comes to Capitol rallies. But for me, listening to people talk about the turnout just shows that they're losing sight of the goal. The goal was to have this rally, and a lot of people will sit out there and say, well, with only that many people, was it a success? Yes, it was a success. The fact that there was a rally in Washington, D.C., it's a success. Budget, if you're out there, hey, buddy, you've got a link in your email, so come join us if you'd like. But, we talked about this before, Clover, and you and I privately, and then also in the media and the public, about what would it take to be a success. And I think you and I both agreed at the time that just having it is a success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just making it happen.
Yeah, just making it happen. And I'd say the next thing that bothers me, and I'll go into this a little bit, and I would imagine that you would have some thoughts on this as well, but what really started pissing me off was about a week or two prior. For years, people have been saying that, I wish some of the bigger YouTube channels would get out there and get more involved with politics and do all this, that, and the other. And we had a few. We had Eric and Tim and Hickok that showed up and I think spoke or whatever. But the fact that once they did that, then the same people who were out there saying, I wish the big dogs would get involved, then they would say, oh, well, this is just a shill event because the big dogs are involved. And it's like, Jesus Christ, what can we do?
Like they were wishing for something to come along to give them a reason not to, I don't know, not to want to be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you and I talked yesterday about it, and I think you were talking, and you made a great point, and about saying that the pull that is assumed with these big channels, that if these big channels, these big entities in the public eye and the gun community would get involved, then they would be able to bring these massive numbers. And I think we all saw that didn't necessarily happen.
Didn't happen. That you remember when Tim and Eric were going to do the not real activist thing, right? With NRA like 2 years ago, and 20 people showed up?
Something like that, yeah.
20 people, and that was IB-88 and Military Arms Channel, together. So this notion, I'm getting really, it's wearing thin on me. Not that I hate these guys, except for there's one guy definitely out there, big channel that I hate, but I don't really hate or have any animosity with the big channels, but we've got to see this for what it is. And we've been harping on it from the media side, from a media industry relationship side for a long time, that these big channels at the end of the day are fairly insignificant. And they're insignificant. What I mean by that is being able to motivate and turn out people, right? They're not effective. Okay, they may get people to buy O-Lights. That's great. They may get bunches of views on YouTube and make some ad revenue because of it. That's great. But as far as getting people off their butts and getting them to show up at a rally, or getting people off their butts and get them to sign petitions or do comments on the government websites, things like that, real calls to action, they're increasingly showing themselves to be more and more and more worthless in that capacity. So this whole notion, whenever we need something, or we don't get a win, or we're fighting something and we really want to win, to say, oh, if only, right? If only these big guys would get on board. Well, I've seen multiple times, I've seen no indication that the big guys can do anything as far as bringing out and turning out and motivating people. So where does it fall to? Who, at that point, who is the people we call on to be able to motivate, John and Susie Q gun owner out there to get off their rear ends and be able to show up?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, and you and I were talking about, and you're 100% correct. The motivation has to come from within. The motivation has to come from many different places besides people that you watch or follow on social media. And I think we're all happy, and we're all very thankful for the followers and all that. But when it comes down to a grassroots thing, or something that is personal and all of that, that's got to come from within. And I think that everyone has their own way of being motivated. Everyone has to find their own way of being motivated. But for me, I think the interesting thing about the quote unquote big dogs getting there to be having speeches, talking Tim and Eric and Hickok and some others, the interesting thing to me is that someone down the line felt it was necessary to have those people there to give speeches. And I think that that's an interesting concept. Is maybe someone thought that this rally won't be legitimate unless Tim and Eric and Hickok and some of these others gave speeches. And that bothers me too, is the fact that maybe we're putting these personalities that are huge maybe to a little bit too high extremes. I think that we've all seen over the years big channels they're much, much different than they were when they were smaller. I think that they have a lot more to lose once they get bigger with contracts and all of that. And I'm not saying they sold out at all. What I am saying is I think that their priorities change and they're a little more hesitant sometimes of getting involved with certain things because of how the optics will look. If their sponsors will say it's okay, or if they don't feel that they're going to get too much backlash, maybe they'll do it. And that's scary to me. And I wish that they understood that there's a reason why they're the size they are. People liked how they were. And unfortunately, some people change and some people lose sight maybe of where they came from. And that's okay. We do have budget. Budget, I think you're at work, buddy, but thanks for jumping in. I think that it's needless to say you were there. And what were your initial takeaways once you left?
Once I left, well, you know, I thought that some of the people there made some really powerful speeches, and I felt that it was a shame that there weren't more people there to listen. Although I know that a lot of people listen via the streaming and can still go back and watch everything via, you know, hitting people's live streams on the replay, whether it's, you know, Obnoxious and Sarge did awesome work covering that with the live streaming. I know Breitbart streamed it live. You know, people could go find it and get the messages. And I really encourage everybody to do it because, you know, it was just outstanding. I was just very disappointed that not as many people as I would have liked to have seen showed up. On the other hand, I was very encouraged by how motivated the people that did show up were. And I think that that's something that we as a community need to capture, is those people who were there, who actually got up off the couch and put down the Tito's bag and, you know, put the cap back on their Mountain Dew and stuck it in the fridge. They got up, they came out, and they actually were there standing up, making their voices heard. You know, we need to capture that motivation to go home now. You know, it's the next week. Go home and let's start to get your neighbors involved. You know, spread the word of the cause. You know, start sharing the links to the live streams and the videos that people are putting out. You know, get contact information for the speakers that were out there, where their projects are. Share those with everybody that you know. Let's try to get some more people involved in this so that if there happens to be a next one at some point, even if it's at the next time there's a state rally, we can get your neighbors there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that there were some powerful speakers, and obviously anytime Maj gets in front of a microphone, he's just going to knock it out of the world. I mean, the guy is passionate about his beliefs, whether or not you align with his beliefs or not. He's as passionate about his beliefs as anyone I've ever seen, and he is truly invested in his convictions, and I love that about him. And as a matter of fact, I sent a text to him earlier. I know he's very busy tonight. They've got the voting for his city council, and
I know I wanted to move to Philly on Monday just so I could vote for him today.
Right. I did send a text to him yesterday and then about an hour ago. And if he gets a chance to, if he hears some results by the time we get off, he's going to try to call in. So hopefully we'll get some live updates on the results from Maj. But no, Maj is great. You know, Carrie Sloan's a very good friend of mine. I think you know Carrie Budget, but Carrie's a good friend of mine, and I've talked with her so many times, but a little bit of Carrie goes a long way sometimes. And you know what I mean if you know Carrie.
A powerful speech, though.
Oh, she was wonderful this weekend because she is in her element when she is talking. She has no problem talking. So there were some wonderful. I thought that John Patton wasn't bad. I thought that he did a pretty good job. I want to say everyone I think did a good job, but you have the Majes and the Carries of the world that can literally just bring down the room. And it was Gabby was great as well as New York Outcast. Yeah, Gabby's Gabby's one of those that's passionate also. You can tell when someone's passionate about what they're talking about, it's a completely different thing that they're just reading their phone and they're reading a script. When they're passionate, they're not going off a script. They're just talking, and I love that. So let me ask you this, Budget. When you were there, was there, we talked earlier, I don't know if you heard it when we first started, people are talking about, I wish more people would have shown up, and to hell with that. The fact that we had this rally is a success. But did you hear people actually at the rally talking about the turnout, or was that even a discussion?
I didn't hear it. I think that everybody I was around there was more focused on what was being said. Maybe once or twice, in amongst our Gun Channel's crew who were hanging out with each other, we might have been like, man, damn, I wish more people would have showed up. But other than that, not, it wasn't as if there was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth over it. People were focused on the stage. They were there to hear the message.
We say that all the time about everything, though. So nothing.
Yeah.
We'll say that in Tulsa this weekend. Wish more people were here.
They're out there talking about Maj. Yes, Maj is up against 16 other people. So yes, it's not like it was a 1 versus 1. At the at large, that's where you have specific districts and precincts, and then they have a couple at large seats. And so yes, this is from anyone from any precinct, any district. From my gathering, it can run for these at large. So yeah, there's a lot of people running. And I don't know. I really wish I could tell you I had a feeling for if Maj was going to get it. I think that he's got as good a chance as anyone because he has been busting his tail. I mean, and I don't live in Philly, so I'm sure that other people were out there and all that. But Maj has, been busting his tail, and Maj is trying to get involved for the right reasons. There are a lot of people in politics, obviously, that are in it for the wrong reason. I think Maj is there to make a difference and to let a specific voice be heard at those city council meetings, where I think that he's would go in and have zero problem rocking the boat in the city council meeting. I think he wants to have his voice heard because he represents a lot of people out there that have basically gone silent or been silenced by the politicians in cities all over. But if we can get Maj in there, and there's nothing we can do. We can't go up to vote for Philly, but it's obviously we're trying to keep up with Maj because I think that having Maj as a template, maybe if he gets in there, having Maj as a template for other people to see that it can happen. Maybe this helps everyone that's at their hometown saying, there's a lot of us that haven't had our voices heard, and maybe I'll be willing to run for public office in order to do that. So, like I said, hopefully we hear something from Maj. He does have obviously the number he can call in, and hopefully we'll hear something. It might take a while with this many people out there voting and all that. It might take till midnight tonight to count votes. I don't know how many people are voting in Philadelphia for city council. But let's we'll get back to Maj here in a little bit. But getting back to the rally, my biggest thing that I've been preaching on for a while now is not about the rally itself. It was what happens after the rally. What happens on November 3rd, 4th, and 5th? And now that we're a few days removed from the rally, it is interesting. I get a lot of people commenting, and there's people commenting out here in the chat that's saying they haven't seen a whole lot of coverage or people talking about the rally the last couple of days. Well, understand that, I had talked to Rob yesterday and would, love to have Rob and Jeff Knox and all them. We could, but they've been busting their asses. The people that are organizing this or helped organize this are out there busting their ass for the last 2 months, and they're tired. So we'll have Rob on some of the time to talk about an after action report. But I'm more worried about what happens now. And for the ones out there that says that the rally was the end game, that was it. No. That's just the beginning. And that's why I'm worried about how many people actually showed up. It doesn't matter to me that it wasn't 100,000 people. What it gets to is, what are we going to do now? And hopefully the rally, whether you were there or not, the people that were aware of this rally, maybe it forces them to get involved with the 2020 election cycle. And Mad Sexy, yes, I did get we're going to bring that up when we get over to that topic. But the 2020 election cycle we're here now, guys. We're a year away. A year from today, not maybe not the date, but the first Tuesday in November, we're voting. So remember that you're going to start hearing and start seeing a lot about the election cycle coming up. It's the primaries, then you start getting into the presidential, the federal side. But remember, you've got the local, state politics. Those elections are going to be going as strong as well. And that's where we got to really get motivated, because if we don't, and we're not careful, and we're not trying to find, a candidate that kind of fits with our ideas and our belief system, I'm not the one, and you guys know this, I'm not the one that's going to sit there and say that the sky is falling. I will never say that the Second Amendment will ever be repealed. I'm not that guy. I don't think that we have to worry about ever owning guns. But I will say is that if the wrong people are elected in the next year at the local, state, and the federal level, including the president, the Second Amendment could look dramatically different. So I want to kind of go through the room. I want to start with Snobs, as he just joined in. Now that the rally's over, what do you think, or what do you hope that people take away from the rally?
Well, I think there were a lot of good speakers that brought a lot of good points that I heard, and I hope that a lot of people take, some of their stuff and spread it to other people that maybe didn't get the chance to hear it, for one. And maybe if they decide to do this again, I hope there is a massive turnout next time, because everybody's seen what good speakers they had this time and stuff.
Yeah, and there were some, and what I loved about the list of speakers is it brought, every position, every direction within the community, every demographic, if you want to call it that. And so there were people that were talking about issues that obviously were important to them, but maybe don't get talked a whole lot about in our community. And maybe so what you're saying is with all the different speakers, maybe people are starting to see a bigger realm of the gun community. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And I would kind of like for, it to be shared more as far as, their messages to other people that, may need to hear that message and didn't hear it or doesn't know that exists in our community.
Yeah, that's a great one. Budge, I want to bring you in. You were there, and you said that, I like what you said, that people that were there seem motivated. What do you think, or what do you hope that people who were at the rally leave doing? What's the next step for people that were at the rally?
I think that the next step for the people that were at the rally is to go, as I said earlier, go home, get your neighbors involved, get their neighbors involved. 1 makes 2, 2 makes 4, 4 makes 8, et cetera, et cetera. Let's build our numbers, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Most recently in the live stream I did right after, the whole piranha thing, individually they'll leave a nasty bite, and yeah, it hurts a little bit, but it's not much more than a nuisance. However, working together, they can reduce an animal the way bigger than they are to nothing within minutes. And that's what we need to do. We need to take all of us little fish and start to get together in schools and start taking little bites out of what they're trying to do to us, what they have done to us, so that we can erode these infringements like they've eroded our rights. One bite at a time. All together. That's what we need to do.
And that right there is exactly how the anti-gun side of politics, I think they've realized that they can't go after the big bite at a time. They can't go after the jaws bite. So they're going to come after our rights bite by bite. So that's how they're going to be playing. So I think that, we have to fight that bite by bite as well. So I think that's a really, really good idea, is to try to get, very few people are going to be able to rally an entire nation. I've said it for years. I'm still waiting for my Kennedy. But we don't have to have a Kennedy out there that can rally an entire nation over something. We don't need that person in the gun community. What we need is
not going to get it. And we're not going to get it. That's the thing. We have to do that ourselves. We have to be Second Amendment piranha. mob together, take little bites. If everybody takes a little bite, well, pretty soon it's all gone.
Yeah. Absolutely. Clover will bring you in, and you and I have just talked about this numerous times in private, but what do you hope comes from this rally?
One thing I see with this rally that is flat staring everybody in the face, and everybody on the panel so far has talked about it, but so many don't apply it to their regular lives, is this idea of put all the other garbage aside. Carrie can be a little abrasive, yes. She's a little bit too much on the feminist side for my taste. Maj at times gets a little bit too much on the militant side for my taste. KD sometimes says some things they've all got things that, I don't see completely eye to eye with them on that. We just have different ways of thinking, and that's because we're all individuals, and it's a product of our environments and upbringing and experiences and all this, and it's a beautiful thing, and so we have to embrace that. And so that's one takeaway I hope everybody takes, is not it was just this diversity of speech. And even Michael, even Sodini kind of got heckled a little bit with some of the stuff he brought up was not altogether popular, right? So that's stuff they're doing with All Talk America, and of course holdmyguns.org and those type places with the mental health side of things. And I seen a post that was disheartening, and it was from Laura from Liberal Gun Club, and they did not have a lot of representation there. They certainly didn't have anybody to speak, and one of the reasons was just fear of causing trouble, because they do believe in abortion and whatever, the flying spaghetti monster in the sky, or no God at all, or whatever, right? Liberal, total left-wing liberal stuff. But on the 2A, we align,
right?
And it's sad that they felt like they couldn't be included, or that it would be a headache or a hassle or inconvenient or dangerous or whatever. It's sad that they had to feel that way about a 2A rally. So that speaks volumes, right? We've got this diversity that everybody talks about, diversity on the stage, but apparently we're not practicing it enough. Apparently we're not absorbed in the thought of, it doesn't matter what you think. We can argue about other things at other times, but when it comes down to 2A, we're standing together, period. And so I hope that like I said, in the spirit of diversity, I hope that people actually take what that means, and like I said, what was staring them in the face the whole time at the rally, to heart, and let go of some of the language, some of the libtard and the this, that, and the whatever, because you could be alienating people that could potentially not only help us defend the Second Amendment, but roll back some of the infringements that we've already gotten.
Yeah, and I think that I love what you're saying, because I'm not a one-issue voter. I know a lot of people are out there. They vote 2A, and that's how they vote. That's the issue. I'm not a one-issue voter. I am I am well diversified in my beliefs as to what makes a good representative. Obviously, 2A is, if someone's anti-2A, it doesn't matter what else they are. But if I've got 3 people that are pro 2A, I'm not just a 2A guy. So I have other things. But like you said, we don't have to all agree politically on everything. But, we're talking about gun rights, and we talk about we need as many allies as we can. Does it really matter if you're a registered Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or, whatever? You're right. It doesn't. If we can agree on 2A rights, then, who's to say we can't have that conversation about other issues as well? Because for me, and I don't know if it was Budget or Snob or Clover, I'm too dumb to remember exactly who said what. But someone was talking about, not always getting along with our own community and all that. Well, that's a great thing, because that's what drives conversations, and that's what this is all about, is the conversation. And we all preach this a lot, but I don't think people think I'm serious about it. The conversation is what is real. If we all agree on everything, then what the hell are we doing? This is an echo chamber of all echo chambers. I like the fact that we all have different opinions on how to get to certain places. As long as the destination's the same, I don't care what route you take. If you want to go down the curvy roads of the hills in Arkansas, great. If you want to go down the highway and go 90 and get there quicker, fine. I don't care. As long as we end up in the same place, the trip is what it's all about. The trip and the conversation is what it's all about. Budget's out there, and you can say what you want, here, just type it. He says, I can disagree with some of the issues, and I disagree with them on, but I will still work together. And he said something about also is, doesn't give a damn what else you believe. We can work on two issues. You want to elaborate on that, Budget?
Well, I see too many people that, well, this person, they might be 2A, but they believe in this, that, and the other thing that I disagree with, so screw with them. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to work with them on this. That's stupid. That's how we're losing. That's why we're losing. I don't care what somebody else believes on the other issues. If I disagree with them on gay marriage, if I disagree with them on abortion, if I disagree with them on free speech, if I disagree with them on every damn thing else, but they support the Second Amendment and they want some help working on the Second Amendment project, I'm going to get right in there and work with them. I'm going to help them. And that's what we need. We need to forget, well, you know what? I don't like double barrel shotguns, and I'm only want ARs. And if they want to restrict your double barrels, then I'm okay with that. It's 2A is 2A. We need to work on that. But we also need to drop the other baggage, because, I've seen people who are, well, they're not Christian enough for me, or they're not a Christian at all, so I don't want to associate with them when we talk about Second Amendment stuff. Well, you know what? You might be losing the biggest Second Amendment supporter there is simply because you disagree with them on your religion. And that's short-sighted and foolish.
Yep. Absolutely. Snob, go ahead. I was going to say, Snob, you got anything you want to add?
Well, kind of the NRA really hurt us with this in the recent history, is they kind of pushed the whole conservative narrative with the gun narrative. And that's, it alienates people that would be on our side, but they're like, well, they're all about, this, and this, and we don't agree about that at all. We're pro-gun, but we're also pro-abortion. And the NRA is backing candidates that are definitely not that, or, don't care about, just stuff like that. And there's people that it just alienates, because like their NRA TV was very, very right-leaning to me anyways, what little bit of it I've watched.
Do you know how many times I see a meme or a post that says one person killed today with a rifle, 5 people killed today with knives, 1,200 killed a day with cancer, 4,000 killed every day by heart disease, 3,000 whatever unborn babies killed every day. Why even throw that in there? Why?
Right.
Why? Heart disease, the knives, I don't even particularly agree with the heart disease and cancer and stuff like that. But, when you're talking about murders committed with knives and fists and cars and whatever, right? Break down the murders, put that in a meme, sure. But they know that's going to be a divisive hot button issue when you start, wherever you come down on abortion, that's fine. The fact is, that's a divisive hot button issue, regardless of whether you come down. And you lose points by throwing that in there. You make it an ideological argument, not an argument about liberty.
Exactly.
And we talk about also, and kind of what Snob was saying is the gun topic became this conservative topic. And so it's like, we're looked at, if you're pro-gun, you're pro-2A, that means that you are this and this and this and this and this automatically. And once again, we're talking about labels. and we start talking labels, that's where we have problems. We talk about calling people libtards or fuds or using these different labels and terminology. That's what the scary thing is, as well as we're assumed to be a certain type of person by the other side, just because.
It's real funny you bring that up, Post.
What's that?
It's real funny you bring that. It's real funny you bring that up because, as I'm sure most of you know, I had this guy from Voice of America come out to interview me on Halloween, and then he was there with me at the rally and did some more interviews with me there. And one of the things he asked was where I stand on other social issues like gay marriage and immigration and religion and all that. And I pretty much told him the same thing I said here is, I don't care what you do as long as you're not harming somebody else. I don't care. Those, I told him frankly, if you want to marry whoever you want to marry, go right ahead. I don't care. If you want to believe what you want to believe or not, go right ahead. I don't care. If you want to come to this country, go right ahead. Welcome, be an American. My people came here in 1865 from Germany. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for immigration. Please come, be an American, do it the right way. And he seemed surprised because he thought, I guess his initial prejudice, I guess, would have been that I would be the hell damn queers and whatnot, And I'm like, dude, no, we're not. That's not us. That's not who we are.
It's almost like I hear two things. One is, if you like guns, you must be part of a militia that's trying to overthrow the government. I hear that one a lot. Not to me personally, I just hear it. And then it's like, if you're...
Yeah, he asked me about militia too.
Yeah. How many times you see on like TV or in movies, they talk about a bunch of 2A people, and it's either a militia or they've got the white sheet in the closet. And it's like, you gotta be shitting me, It's like they assume, just like we assume a lot about other people, but they assume that, like you said, we are a certain person because we like guns. And that's why I think people like Maj and KD and other people that are black are extremely important, because whether or not what they're saying is going to hit with them, the visual of a black gun owner being visible and public about their love for the 2A is important, because that's going to break down stereotypes as well. And I don't even know how the hell we got going down this rabbit hole, but anything else we want to talk about the rally before we move on to the next topic? Anyone?
Negative.
Nope. All right. Before we get going, I do want to bring up something about podcasts. And I know that, if you're watching this or you're listening to this, and obviously you're probably a 2A person and you like podcasts, but we're really asking you to go check out, and what Budget was saying earlier is spreading everybody and sharing as much information. And there's a wonderful thing about what we do is this is not about any of us personally getting huge. It's about sharing information and getting information out to people that may need to hear this or want to hear this. But there's some awesome, great podcasts out there. And I'm going to go through the room also, but I'm going to kind of list some ones that I personally listen to, that I know these people personally, and they're good people and great podcasts. But the 2A for Everyone is by Tony Simon. We all know Big Tony. Gun Freedom Radio, obviously by Cheryl Todd. Riding Shotgun with Charlie Cook. You've got a new one out there. It's called To the Republic Podcast. It's with Timothy Knight and Rebecca Schmoy. Obviously, Black Man with a Gun with the Reverend Ken Blanchard, who's probably the godfather of 2A podcasts. The Concealed Carry Podcast with Riley Bowman. And the Michael Sedini Podcast is out there, and Mike does a great job. And I do listen to Clover stuff. And I hate to say that. I'm a closet Clover fan, but I want to start with Snob. Snob, do you have podcasts out there that you listen to that are kind of pro 2A that maybe people need to learn about?
Really, the only podcast I listen to, other than some of the ones you already named, is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. I've listened to that for, Lord, 10 years probably at least.
Yeah.
It's just I always enjoyed his, but that's really the only one other than the ones you named. And we like shooting, but theirs is just crazy. But it's funny.
We're looking for a laugh. We like shooting is fun. Just to they're gonna have a good time. You might not get a whole lot of substantive information, but you're gonna laugh. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Budge, what about you? Any good podcasts out there that people need to know about?
Really, the only 2A podcasts I listen to is Armed American Radio, but that's just kind of the podcast of the radio show.
Right.
I listen to that pretty much every day. Yeah. Not gonna lie, I'm a fanboy.
Oh yeah, no, it's good stuff. Clover, what about you? Any podcasts out there that you would recommend to people that might be driving a lot and might want to be looking into more 2A information?
Yeah, I mean, Trigger Warning 2A is pretty good. That's and even Antonia and Nina, I think. So two what do you want to call it? Minorities? Because I don't know. I hate to say that they're black because I don't think Nina's. I think she's mixed somehow. But either way, we in the spirit of diversity, that's interesting because you've got two young women that are not, old white men, obviously. So I think that's more the point. So yeah, Trigger Warning 2A is a pretty good one. John Crump, has got his fireside chats that he does and stuff. Had a great one the other night with Jason David Frank, as a matter of fact. That was some pretty good conversation. And then it was Budget that mentioned the radio thing. From here in Texas, we've got every Sunday is Come and Talk It.
Yeah.
So that's another good one. There's so many out there, and I see people that because I'm a member of some groups that are not. They're not groups where the actual podcasters themselves hang out, but they're groups of like people that, hey, what podcast should I listen to? That type of thing, right? And so I'm always picking up on other ones that I can't even think of. There's so many out there, I can't listen to them all, obviously, but and I certainly can't even remember the name of them or anything like that. But when somebody asked, it's like, wow, and you go check that out, and you're like, I never knew that one existed. So there's so many out there. You just have to go looking for it, right?
Right. There are having some questions out there that have been sent to me. I'm going to get to those, I promise. We're going to start on one of them. Let me get over here real quick to the text messages. Sorry. Jason P's out there says, are you guys going to SHOT Show this year? What are you guys excited about? And yes, I'll be at SHOT Show. Clover and I have already got the house booked in Vegas, so my plane ticket and house is already done. So we are official. We are going regardless of what happens. But now, what am I excited about? It's funny because I've had this discussion with several people, including Clover, about this year. I think this year is going to be different for me, and it's probably going to be different for Clover than it has been the last couple of years. But there's really not a whole lot of like product that I'm crazy excited about. There are some things out there that with some companies I've been talking with and working with that has some new stuff coming out, but there's nothing that I have to sit there and say, I can't wait to see this product. Oh my God. There's not any of that. I think for me, it's going to be really kind of taking the vibe because last year the vibe was so good at SHOT Show. Yeah. And we had companies that had record-breaking weeks by Wednesday of SHOT Show. But for me, the vibe, because I think that if we turn the vibe positive for SHOT Show, that's going to be good for the community going forward for the election. I think that for me, I'm most excited about just being around the companies that I work with. There are some companies that have new representation or new media managers and all that I talk to on the phone or email all the time, but have never met them in person yet because they're new. And there's some people I want to do that. There are obviously some companies that I may not have had access to the first couple of years I went that I do now, which is exciting for me because that's something that will be good content and all that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to it's going to sound crazy. I know Clover's going to be doing something like this, but in a bigger Ghost Tactical's handsome wife says, "Hey, how you doing?" No, but I'm looking forward to maybe setting up shop in the media room for an hour. I know Clover and I have talked about doing some different things. Clover's got a phenomenal idea that I think it could be a huge hit for SHOT Show. But for me, it's kind of doing what Cheryl did last year, is maybe an hour a day or half an hour a day, just pulling people walking through the media room and for a little 5-10 minute sit downs and say, hey, you know, because there's so many people there and so many booths, everyone's SHOT Show experience is different, and to kind of bring people in and talk about what their experiences or what they've seen and all of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Clover, and I'm sure you got some things that you're excited about as well.
Yeah, you know, we all evolve, right? Evolution is a real thing. Regardless of, you know, the whole coming from monkeys and whatever, that's a whole different ball of wax. Evolution is a real thing. We all evolve, every living being, you know, plant, whatever. I mean, depending on the situations and what we're given and this, that, and the other, life is pretty resilient that way, right? So I found myself evolving, and I had this conversation actually today with Jeff from Gear Report, which myself, Ghost, and Budget writes for Gear Report. Go check out the stuff over there. But I kind of had that conversation today with him where we started off, we were kind of talking about some products and different things, some different companies. We had mutually kind of worked on some things, and it led into the theory or the thought of evolution and creators, and how I value and enjoy now the conversations and the networking and the really knowing people within not just the industry, but the community and culture and everything else, right? The activists and the advocates, and then all the way down to, of course, the marketing people, the CEOs, the gunsmiths with said company, you know, whatever it might be. I enjoy that, and I think that's where I've really enjoyed the podcasting side of things more so than the gear and the guns and the reviews and the stuff like that. That said, I've sort of been having a little bit of a renewed spirit in the written review aspect of things, and it's strange because I started kind of a different method of doing my videos, the last couple of videos, video reviews anyway. And in that, I realized how easy it makes it to write the review. And in trying to better my videos, I actually found myself loving the writing side more by tweaking my video procedure. It's crazy because seemingly it had, on the surface, it had nothing to do with it, right? But my point is, I guess, is those relationships and that networking can yield stuff to review and yield stuff on the gear side. Whereas if you just go up and ask for gear, you go up and say, hey, I want to do T&E and this, that, and the other, and you don't actually interview people and get to know people and actually get to talk with people and stuff like that, it's a totally different dynamic, right? And I don't know, I'm trying to sit here and trying to think on the fly of something to relate it to. But it's a situation where one can definitely yield the other, but not necessarily the other way around. And to that avail, yeah, that's sort of my take too. With you in the media room, of course, is going to be obviously media people. I want to do something in a similar fashion on the industry side of things. So really looking forward to that. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's once you go the first time, I mean, there's so much guns and gear and other stuff, you know, it's overwhelming, but you sort of get over that, you know. That stuff's not going anywhere, right? I mean, it's really not. Said company comes out with a product. I mean, probably 5 years from now at SHOT Show, they're going to have that same product. So it's not it may be your first time to see that, but it's not going to be your last. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you have an opportunity like that, where you get less than a week, little less than a week a year, to do something like that, you got to focus on the things that are going to get you, that take advantage, right? That take advantage of that short window of time. And to me, the gear is not necessarily where it's at. What else? There was something else I was going to mention with that, and I got to rambling, and it fell out of my head, unfortunately.
Well, it'll come back to you.
I remember what it is. Back to the networking side of things. Quite honestly, it's gotten into, that's the only time of the year. I mean, that and NRA, we don't know that NRA is going to happen. And then, of course, you got several times a year with some people, but with SHOT Show, a lot of times that's the only time you see those people. And people that you do communicate, like Ghost said, with on a daily basis or weekly basis or semi-weekly basis or whatever. There's a text, there's a phone call. These are people It's kind of like the environment here online with the other creators online and the people out there in the chat and stuff like that. You just don't get that opportunity but once a year. So you like to take advantage of that to actually, sit down or actually stop and have a real conversation every now and then in person, because this kind of goes back, not to lead back into the rally too much, but some of the animosity and the trolling, if that's what you want to call it, or whatever, that's kind of been going on lately with all of that, and this person against that person seemingly, and whatever. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that we hang out online, we are kind of all in the same niche and genre and stuff like that. And in order to really get to know somebody, you've got to be able to stop. Talk about stopping smelling the roses all the time. But you've got to stop and actually have a one-on-one conversation. And if you do that, I'm a pretty good read of people, regardless, even if it's online or through text or phone call or something like that. But if I can ever stand face to face with you and shake your hand and have a conversation, I guarantee you I can get a read on what kind of a person you are. And I think that's really important for moving the relationships and all forward. Again, not to get into all that, and we're not all going to get along. I get all of that, but at least to be able to know where, one person stands as opposed to another, in the creator space anyway. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, and I think a lot of it comes down to are those one-on-one conversations and all of that. You and I can't speak for anybody else except for you and I, but you and I, at the size of channel that we are, as far as what people will consider YouTube subscribers and Instagram followers and all of that, for the size that we are, we're not supposed to have the contacts that we do. And I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I think a lot of it comes down to is when we're at SHOT Show or we're at NRA, people that have been around us at industry shows, we bust it. We bust our ass. We're not sitting around hanging out a whole lot during the day. We really, really work hard, but we work hard at meeting these people and talking to them, having real one-on-one conversations. And I think that that's a testament to what anyone can do. Is if you try to go somewhere and just try to be a fly on the wall and just kind of take it all in, that's great. But in a short couple of years of my having a channel and in being in the media realm of things, I mean, it's kind of crazy the friends that we have. And I think what really comes down to is we're not afraid to have those real conversations. And when we do, they're actual real conversations. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. And once again, it's about the conversation. I keep going back to that. The conversation is where it's at. Now, Snob, I want to bring you in. Are you planning on going to SHOT Show this year? I know you were talking about.
I will be there. We already have our house paid for and everything. So,
all right, good. So being, not that I'm a veteran by any means as far as SHOT Show, I've been there a couple times, but being that the fact that you are, and I'll come back to you here in a midget, Clover. I know that you got to follow up, but being that you're a newbie to SHOT Show, what are you most excited about? In your mind, what's the one or a couple things that you can't wait to see at SHOT Show?
I don't know. The show itself. I'm excited to just see it. I don't have any clue what to expect other than it's like
Good.
big.
Good answer.
It's the best way I can explain it is take the size of Wanenmacher, okay, and take the atmosphere of NRA and multiply it by 10 at the size of Wanenmacher. Is that a relatively good way to start, Clover?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
The electricity, there's no other way to explain it. The electricity is unlike anything you will experience.
Yeah.
It's certainly not laid back like NRA. Now, I say that as far as like the first time or until you start getting networked and kind of, getting into the fold with some of the manufacturers and stuff, then it becomes a little more laid back. But until that point, it's nothing like NRA, I don't think. Size wise, it's way bigger than Wanenmacher, and spread out is part of the problem because you've got the dungeon downstairs, which is bigger than the size of Wanenmacher. You got the main floor, which is bigger than the size of Wanenmacher. Then you've got the media area, which is, I would say, goes half the size of Wanenmacher, and then upstairs, which is probably half to 3/4 the size.
Talking about moving that off campus.
And I'm totally forgetting the law enforcement side, which is again as big as Wanenmacher. So, yeah.
Well, and, they're talking about moving the next stuff off campus. Remember that they're talking
they're talking about moving the supplier showcase off campus.
Suppliers off campus, yeah, but that's something that a lot of people go to, and I mean, you're having to go off campus now. That's a crazy one.
And for those that don't understand what the supplier showcase is, that is more the raw materials side of things, and like the machinery, like the CNC machines and the lathes, and then the aluminum and polymers and the different things that are used is the supplier showcase.
I got a really interesting question that I want to go ahead and transition to from Jacob. He just texted in. Thank you, Jacob. He says, what do you think any new gun reforms, if they will come, how will they affect hunting rifles? Honestly, I don't think that what you would consider, or most people would consider hunting rifles, I'm going to assume are bolt action. I don't suspect that lever action and bolt action rifles will ever be touched. Ironically, if you want to find some funny stuff, there is one of those Steven Crowders from a couple years ago, and he set up a tent on the side of the road, and he's got different weapons, different rifles, different handguns, and different calibers. And he's like, so which rifle would you want to ban? And obviously they go with the ARs and the AKs. And then you sit there and say, okay, which of these ammunition bullets would you ban? And obviously they go with the 308s and the 50s and, all of this. And they have no idea. So my answer to you personally, and I'll bring in Snob and Clover here, but my personal answer to you is as long as you don't have the scary looking assault weapon of war rifle, I don't think that you're ever going to find any legislation that's going to get rid of bolt action or lever action rifles. That's my personal opinion, because they're not scary looking. What they don't understand is those can cause so much more damage at so much longer distances than the scary rifles that they want to ban. So personally, I don't ever see your hunting rifles getting taken care of. Snob, what do you say about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my Model 94 and my 700 and 270 is probably safe for a whole long time, because if you look at these countries where they did actually do all these firearms bans and stuff, they still ain't bothering your hunting quote unquote rifles.
Yeah. Clover, what about you? Anything do you think that they're going to come after hunting rifles?
It so much depends on what you consider a hunting rifle, because at this juncture, you take the South, for example, and you take pigs, for example, there's no doubt the AR is the number one hunting rifle.
No doubt about it.
So what are you talking about? I mean, I think we have to be really careful with the words we use and we choose, right?
That's why I preface it saying I'm assuming that hunting rifle is being used as bolt action or lever action. That's why I prefaced my answer on that.
Yeah, hunting rifle is not a design. You know what I mean? That's hunting rifle. Saying hunting rifle is the same as saying assault rifle, right? You're putting an identifier before it of what you're going to use that rifle for, right? It really has nothing to do with the rifle. That said, I tend to agree. I mean, anything out of the scary black is probably going to be okay. I would even go as far as to say some of the neutered versions. With hunting, 5 rounds seems to be like max limit as far as a lot of your states and your hunting regulations and things like that, right? So I can see magazine capacity bans potentially. I can see some feature bans potentially. You don't have to have that scary flash hider, for example, or the bayonet lug, necessarily to hunt. I get it. But to the point of the bolt action, especially, we're talking about that, and you were talking about how with a bolt action, you're talking about distance, you're talking about such a larger caliber, you're talking about, something designed and crafted and continuing to evolve to be able to bring down 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 pound animals, one shot, one kill, as quickly and ethically as possible from very long ranges away, right? So, imagine that, take that now and thread the barrel and put a suppressor on it, right? What you can do in states now, and look at even how more nefarious that could become if it's in the hands of people that, are hell-bent on doing ill will, right? If they're not in the hands of those ethical hunters and ethical sportsmen and things like that. Because, if you've ever shot a rifle at, 800 yards, 600 to 800 yards, something like that. Depending on the caliber, the report is not that great. Now, you add a suppressor, you're hearing nothing on the other end. So that's what makes them so effective in the scenario. Besides the hearing protection itself to the shooter, that's what makes them so effective for in a hunting scenario, is that you're not disturbing the game. I mean, you potentially can get follow-up shots if need be without disturbing the game that's downrange. So I mean, anything and everything, like I said, the word rifle, with that, we have to, you always, in and of itself, we're talking about firearms, we're talking about rifles, we're talking about pistols, and once we start putting classifiers and identifiers in front of whatever the word may be, right? I've even seen assault revolver out there. What in the bloody is a assault revolver? Let's explain that one to me one time.
686 plus.
I guess so.
An extra round.
Yeah, it's great.
That's funny. G, what's up, man? Are you? How's the road? Are you parked for the night, or are you just taking a break? But what's going on the tour right now?
I just lost my light switch for the back here. Been looking for it.
Well, I saw you looking around the flashlight. I just thought that didn't realize that your camera was on. I didn't know you were actually looking for something.
That little remote control for the lights, I can't find it.
Yeah.
Anyway, no,
There's been a couple of questions before we move on to the Veterans Day. There's been a couple of questions on it. See if you want to answer them. The first one is there anything in specific that you're looking forward to for SHOT Show this year?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Who, me?
Yeah, we were trying to catch you up for some of the questions that were asked before we head on to the Veterans Day thing.
Whatever the follow-up from the rally and, gun rights policy and that kind of thing. Second Amendment stuff. Now that people know each other and know what they have to offer to the group and know what the playing field is a lot better than they ever did before. There's 30 people there. Something in common now that they spoke at the first ever Second Amendment rally like that. So at least those 30 people are gonna, that were standing around for like 4 hours behind the podium there. Well, it wasn't really a podium, but the 30 people that were speakers that were talking to each other, that gives them 2 or 3 months if to chat about stuff and to strategize and to share resources and collaborate. I'm looking forward to whatever comes out of that.
Fantastic. All right, so what we're going to talk about is, once again, we talked about earlier, this week is Armed Forces or Veterans Appreciation Week, and Sunday is November 10th, which for some of us is a big day. It's the Marine Corps' 244th birthday. So happy birthday to my fellow Devil Dogs out there, and I'll be in Tulsa for that. And then Monday the 11th is Veterans Day, and we're going to kind of start talking about Veterans Day a little bit and kind of what it means, because different people have different feelings about Veterans Day, and I would suspect that people that are veterans probably see Veterans Day maybe a little bit differently than non-veterans, which isn't. I had that question asked me before, and I had a discussion with someone about that, and it was really interesting that I guess I look at Veterans Day maybe differently than someone that hasn't served, I guess. But happy birthday, brother. Patriots out there, any other former Marines out there, happy birthday. But the interesting thing about the history of Veterans Day is it started as Armistice Day, which was November 11th of 1918, which marked the end of World War I, the treaty being signed with the Allies in Germany. And it wasn't until, you probably know the exact date, but it wasn't until like 1954 or 55, mid-50s, that it became Veterans Day to honor all veterans, not just the World War I. It was mid-50s. I don't know sure the exact dates. But it turned into Veterans Day in the mid-50s, and it's been that ever since. But the interesting thing is I get people ask me all the time, and there's a question that I want to get to that Mad's been waiting a long time, and I appreciate that. But he asked, being a veteran, what do I think of Veterans Day and pros and cons, bad memories, etc. For me, and I'll start, but for me, Veterans Day is it's honestly just remembering. And remembering the people, and I know we have Memorial Day to honor the people that didn't come home, and Veterans Day is basically for all veterans, but just remembering, what this country has gone through, and it's 200 and almost 250 years of existence, and the men and women that helped get us there. But the interesting thing is I think that it's sad to a certain extent as well. And I don't get me wrong, I appreciate the fact that there is a Veterans Day. I appreciate the fact that there is a holiday. I love the fact that people take work off for Veterans Day. That's just funny to me, but it's what it is. But I think that it's sad to a certain extent that we have to designate a day to remember veterans. And I think anyone that knows me knows that. And I think most veterans will tell you this, that if someone comes and says, thank you for your service, I try to kind of just, no problem and all that. But I think it's sad that we have to have a day set aside to be an official Veterans Day, where, I think that every day should be Veterans Day. I think every day should be Mental Health Awareness Day. I think every day should be whatever day it is whatever that means something to you. Think about that every day, and don't have to have a set day. Birthdays are one thing. Independence Day is another thing. But Memorial Day, Veterans Day, for me, I think that should be every day. We should remember everyone who served. We should remember those that didn't come home for Memorial Day. Remember the people that are deployed right now, and people that are serving right now. That we're coming up on the holiday season, guys, and it may not mean much to you, but I want to try to bring a little bit of being fucking real to you, and bringing some in your face shit. While y'all are fucking having fun eating turkey and ham and opening up presents for Christmas and eating turkey and ham for Thanksgiving, there are men and women that are across this fucking world that don't get to spend the holidays with their families. So please don't make Veterans Day November 11th. Make Veterans Day every day. But you know what? Especially during the holiday season, when you're having fun with your families, maybe just remember that there are people out there right this second defending our Constitution, defending our way of life against people that fucking hate us, and they may not come home. Remember that. So that's my soapbox for the day. But I want to bring G in real quick, another veteran. Is there anything that, when you think of Veterans Day, what does it mean to you? Okay. Oh, there. Oh. Okay, we'll come back to G. He might be busy. I'm gonna bring Snob in.
Might be good.
Oh, there you go. What up, G?
Better.
When you think of Veterans Day, what does it mean to you?
I guess it evolves, right? So it's pretty much consistently, though, not been. I mean, there's like you said, there's Memorial Day for those who have given all, and that's not just service members, but for the most part, service members. And then there's Armed Forces Day, where we recognize all of them, and then we each have our birthdays, where we can recognize the branches, right? So Veterans Day is specifically for people that have served, they're still here. So it's a way to say thanks. So for me, Veterans Day started with parades back when we were young. And, you'd go somewhere and people would sit on a float and you'd wave at them. And if you don't understand that, or if you think it's just like propaganda or something, I'd encourage you to check out Lieutenant Colonel Grossman's books, where he talks about the concept of that. I mean, ever since the beginning of warfare, you get trophies for going to war because we as humans, our nature is not to kill each other. In fact, we're pretty much bred from birth not to kill each other. So when we have to kill each other, it's a mind fuck? Because it is. And you have to, there's cultural, there's societal, there's ways that mammals have figured out how to allow someone to take that challenge and that obligation and that responsibility and then not suffer for the rest of their lives from it. And that has to do with awards and memorials. So Veterans Day is a way that has existed for a long time. Before there was psychiatrists and therapists to put words on it, it was a way for people to deal. And they called it shell shock, and they called it all kinds of other things back in the day. But when you have to go do atrocious things and live through hell and then come home and try to live normally again, it's a transition. It's a way for the world to say, we kind of understand, but we can't understand. You're still around. You didn't give all, but you're hollow. And this is a way to say, thank you for, here's a way to fill some of that. So there's people that serve today, and you can talk to them on Armed Forces Day or Armed Service Day, or like Ghost says, buy them lunch when you see them in front of you or behind you. That's a great way to say thanks. But Veterans Day has a purpose too. So for me, it's always been and always be the old guys. So for me, it's Nam. We've got a couple of Korean guys walking around. So nowadays, it's hard for me as an old, like whatever age I am, to think of somebody like you or somebody else as a veteran because you're younger than me. And we all volunteered. So I personally can't give a shit about any of us because we all signed up for it. The guys in Nam and earlier didn't. They were conscripted, they were drafted, and they still did it. I can't even imagine not being interested in pursuing killing people for your beliefs and then doing it and then surviving and coming home. So Veterans Day is for those guys, for me.
There's a lot to be said about that, and we talk about the greatest generation, the baby boomers. And my grandfather served in World War II and in Korea, and there aren't too many around still that were World War II vets. And when I think of Veterans Day, it's Nam, and it's Korea and World War II, because we're talking about people that, especially in World War II, people were going at 16 years old and lying about their age to sign up to go and fight and not knowing what it's going to be like and not knowing if they're ever going to come home. They didn't even think about that. It was the sense of duty and its true patriotism. Going into Vietnam, you had people that still enlisted, but a lot of people were drafted, and people were being sent overseas to fight for a country that they may not have loved, or they may not have agreed with their ideals, but yet they still went, and they came home and were treated like absolute trash by the media and by a lot of our country, calling them baby killers and being spat on at the airports when they came home. And like I said, and I'm the same way. I don't think of anyone my age when I think of Veterans Day. It's what it is. Maybe I'll appreciate it more later on in life, and in 20 years when I'm, 65 and looking back on life and all that, I did it because I wanted to. I enlisted, I volunteered. And I'm not going to lie, when I got out of the Marine Corps was not a very pretty and healthy taste in my mouth. There were some things that happened that I did not leave the Marine Corps maybe in the best mental state of loving the Marine Corps at the time, because I was a 23-year-old little bitch that, it is what it is. But over time, you look back and you realize what you did, and you realize what it means to other people. And, there are a lot of people that want to serve, but for whatever reason can't. And so, yeah, it's what it is. Let's bring in Snob. Snob, for you, when you hear Veterans Day and all that, is there anything that comes to mind when you hear it?
Well, I'm not a veteran in any way, shape, or form, but all my life, Veterans Day has always been the assembly at school where the career vets or the Vietnam vets always came and spoke, and you always had a few World War II, which I guess that's getting very rare for World War II vets to still be around to speak at them. That's what I always thought of, and just a time to honor the veterans who serve. But I don't have a lot to say about that because I don't have experience in that as a veteran or anything.
Well, and it's one of those things where, and that's fine. And it's one of those where when people hear Veterans Day, I think a lot of it comes down to, I think, we might have talked about this on Memorial Day and the different days and all that. I think Veterans Day, a lot of people get it mixed up with Memorial Day, and they think that this is about the people that didn't come home. And that's not, this is about the people that served and did come home. So it's one of those things where I guess you could all say we were lucky to be able to come home and spend the rest of our lives and all of that normally. But there was someone out there, let me go find out who it was in the chat, maybe been New York out there, said that there are a lot of veterans out there that, just looking for someone to talk to and looking for friends and all that. So, like I said, Veterans Day to me is not just a once a day or once a year thing. It's everyone has their own thing, but, veterans are pretty high on my list. I'm actually working with my U.S. Congressman right now on a bill to maybe change some ways that the VA looks at pre-existing injuries that were caused by your time of service but might not have been documented for whatever reason. And we're trying to get some legislative action going to where there might be a little window. So I think that there's a lot of things that could help veterans out there. I love what G says. If you've got a veteran that's behind you, buy them a cup of coffee, pay for their lunch or whatever, that kind of thing right there. But it's just one of those that, it's tough. And I know, Snob, you said you had one more thing. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I do disagree with you and G both. I think you all are just as much veterans as anybody, and I think you guys deserve the same respect. You're that age range. I'm not just talking about you in general, just
No, I hear you.
The younger age, if you went and fought for your country, you're still a veteran, however, whatever way. And I mean, that's from me on the outside looking in. I look at it differently than you all being in there, I'm certain too. But
well, and then that's the interesting thing is I remember growing up. I'm gonna bring Clover in on this, but I remember growing up, and I'm not one of those people that grew up my whole life wanting to be a Marine or be in the military. I was never that guy. I was an athlete, and I wanted to play professional sports and all that stuff, and like most of the kids did. And I knew both my grandfathers served, but I wasn't that kid growing up. So for me, it sounds bad, but I was either naive or just completely blinded, and not necessarily didn't care, but just wasn't surrounded by Veterans Day and all that. And for me, it sounds sad, and I'm probably a lot like a lot of people are. Memorial Day and 4th of July were barbecue weekends. They were cookouts. Let's go to the lake or whatever. And it wasn't until I got older and I started, join the Marine Corps. But even after I got out and started realizing what all of this meant because of my experiences. And I think that's why I think veterans look at different things, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, that we might look at those holidays, quote unquote, differently than people that had served, just because our experiences they don't allow us to just another 3-day weekend or whatever. So I think that's kind of interesting. But Clover, I want to bring you in. And do you have anything you want to touch on when it comes to Veterans Day?
Oh, sure, man. I'm all for veterans. I mean, anybody that helps animals, great, man. My opinion, good people.
Yeah. You got to help the animals out there, and feed the puppies, and cats, and especially the farm animals. Those vets are really cool.
It's really nice when they don't hate kids.
The vet techs are important too. Let's not forget that.
What's that? What did you say, G? I didn't hear him. Anyways, go ahead, Clover. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I mean, for me, I grew up. I mean, anybody that has, I don't know, you've probably seen me online, but especially seen me in person. I mean, I wear Army stuff pretty regularly, and I'm quick to tell people when they ask me, I'm like, no, I did not serve. It's just kind of like, some people wear the flag, or some people wear their, favorite NASCAR driver or their favorite sports team, right? I'm not into sports. I'm not into this, but family wise, uncles, grandfathers, that sort of thing. Pretty steep history with the Army. So that's one way for me to, I think, remember that, and kind of, I don't know, what's the word? I don't know what the word is, man. When you it's not necessarily honor that, but hopefully people out there get what acknowledge that. Yeah, acknowledge that it's a part of the history, and then in a broader sense as well, right? Acknowledge my support. It's like just like people would wear their sports team to support them. I mean, that's kind of my team, and I definitely support them. But yeah, as far as Veterans Day, I mean, age and all of that doesn't really make a difference to me. And I totally agree that there are things in this world we need to be remembering, and we need to be honoring and bestowing appreciation upon certain people and all of that every single day of the week, not just one day a year. That being said, I get the point of doing these holidays and having something nationally recognized once a year, because if you think about it, not all people are going to be steeped in, family military experience or whatever like me, right? Sitting around campfires and my grandfather and his buddies or my uncles and whatever, and you're hearing, and I wished I would have wrote down or recorded all of the stories I've heard over the years, a campfire. It was amazing stuff. You got to remember being a kid, and back in our day and age, what did we do, right? We were out in the woods and outside, and we were playing war and, that kind of stuff, a lot of us, right? So, when as a kid, you're sitting around and you're hearing these real accounts from these guys that are, yes, okay, they're family members for the most part, but they're heroes, right? I mean, so you get that sense of the people that do this, they really are heroes, right? Not just your family members, but everybody who does this. And like G said, especially the guys that didn't want to do it, that were drafted in. And so, but with all of that, I get the importance, because not everybody has that background like me. So, if you're just a regular person, you grew up in the city, you really don't know anybody that's ever served, nobody in your family really ever served, that sort of thing. You hear people talk about it, and maybe for a little while, maybe you see somebody with a cap, or you see somebody with a shirt, and you ask them, hey, did you serve? And well, thank you for your service. And you do all of this, but you go about your day-to-day life, right? Because it's not really a part of your culture and heritage and upbringing. You go about your day-to-day life, and you do whatever you normally do, and you go to work, and you take care of your family, and eventually you forget about stuff like that. It's human nature, and it's going to happen because it's maybe not as close to your heart as it is with a lot of people. So, having that one day a year, that's just like an in-your-face reminder, like, hey, don't forget this. Hey, don't forget this. To me, I don't see it as much as we're just picking one day and saying, well, it's only worth one day. Instead, we're picking a day to remind everybody is what we're doing.
Yeah. And that's valid. That's absolutely valid. And yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said. I think that a lot of it comes down to the remembering side. And there was a Idaho out there. I want to put this up there. Awesome. Semper Fidelis, brother. Go to your local cemetery, a forgotten vet's grave, trim the headstone, plant a flag, say a prayer, remember his name. I actually
That's Memorial Day. We're alive.
I understand that, but I do understand what he's trying to say, because this is something that I actually saw. Something that I remembered seeing not too long ago. I was at a funeral, unfortunately, about 3 weeks ago, and when you're at the gravesite and all that, I look over, and there was this lady, and I would say she was probably my age, so let's say mid 40s or so, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, but she was middle aged, and she had a piece of paper, and she was over at a grave site and a headstone, and had a piece of paper and a pencil, and was kind of shading the, saying that
Nice.
something and all that. And I asked her, so I stopped by afterwards, and I had to walk by her to get to my car, and I said, "How you doing, ma'am? Sorry for your loss, this, that, and the other." And it was her grandfather, and World War II vet, and wanted to do something for her kids who never got to meet him, and told them stories about this, that, and the other. And she had gone and had used like 4 or 5 pieces of paper total to basically shade his entire tombstone, and was going to frame it. And I thought that was pretty awesome. Oh, wow. And I never seen anybody do that before, but I thought that's kind of cool. And yes, that is Memorial Day, but here's the thing. I don't want people to get into the mindset that by doing something like that, they're wrong. I mean, if that's what you want to do, then by all means, honor whoever you want to any day of the year. But I did remember when he said that about the going to the cemetery. That's something that brought to my memory. I thought it was I never seen him do that before. And he was talking about framing it. I said that'll be cool to see.
The local cemetery here, and I'm trying to remember now how many plots. I mean, you got to remember we're really rural area, so what I would call the family cemetery anyway here is one of the things that they do is they sort of have in storage for all of the I guess even though they're dead and gone, they're still veterans, but they have like you're talking about the flowers and flags and pieces and stuff like that. And so every single holiday, they basically decorate the cemetery for the veterans. They do that on the 4th of July. They do that on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Armed Forces Day, basically any day having anything to do with military or freedom, right? They take all that stuff out and load it onto the trailer with the 4-wheeler and make the rounds and decorate. And the next day, they usually do it late one evening, and then late the next evening, whenever they take it down. That way, if family comes to visit for whatever reason, everything's just decorated. It's pretty cool. Anytime you go on, just like I said, just about any military holiday, it's decorated up pretty good. There's a lot of veterans that are buried there. Most of those, World War I, World War II, Korea, because it's old school, really old people. But a lot of veterans there. So there's a lot of you can tell there's a lot of love going on in that cemetery.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because I was going to say, what people do in my hometown here in our town square by our courthouse, our county courthouse, they put flags up, and they put a flag up for every person that was from this county that died in war. And there's hundreds of them,
Yeah, we've seen that. You've done live on that before. It's pretty cool.
I've done live on that before. Yeah, I've done a live on that before. It's interesting.
We have a monument that they just adding names to, but yeah.
But I think it's kind of cool. Like I said, I wish, and I get it. I mean, they put those flags up on September 10th. They want them up for September 11th, which I think is interesting. And they'll take them down on November 12th, the day after Veterans Day, which is, once again, it's odd, but it is what it is. But I get it. But, Snob or G, is there anything that, like, your town or cities, does Tulsa do anything, Snob? Is there a big Veterans Day parade, or is there anything that happens?
I think Tulsa has a Veterans Day parade. I've never been to it or anything.
Yeah. G, Tucson, do they do anything for Veterans Day on a typical basis?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. But parades are mostly for the kids, old folks, right?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I haven't been to Tucson parade for a while, but the way they do them, or where they do them, is over by our rodeo grounds, which is, in fact, nowhere near me. So I wouldn't even, like, traffic and stuff wouldn't even be disrupted by me. And I don't listen to local radio, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Man, I don't know if it was me or not, but I think he was cutting out, or at least he was pretty soft. I know you're on the road, bud. Well, I don't want to kind of end on the number. Let's kind of talk about some cool stuff coming up. We got Wanenmacher coming up this weekend. Myself, Clover, Snob, Obnoxious, Sarge, Gizzard Gary, that guy's wife, a bunch of other people are going to be invading, no pun intended, Tulsa.
Pickle, our longest traveler, I think, is
Calaveras. He's bringing his dad and his father-in-law from California out to Wanenmacher, which is awesome.
Fine, yeah.
But they're going to be getting there. We'll be there Thursday and leaving. Supposed to be leaving Monday. I'll be getting there Friday and Saturday and Sunday. But Wanenmacher's out there, guys. If you're around the Tulsa area, if you're even within 8 hours, it's not a bad drive to Tulsa. It's the largest gun show in the world. Excuse me. 11 acres under one roof, and I think over 4,000 tables at this gun show. It's massive. It's awesome. There are people like, Cycle Camp, who comes in from Connecticut and is looking for some of the weirdest things that, and he finds them. Like every year, people find just random things that they didn't think they'd be able to find. So now Snob lives in Tulsa. G's been going to Wanenmacher for a while. Clover and I've been going to Wanenmacher for a while. What are you looking for? I'll start with Snob. Is there anything in particular? Are you going to Wanenmacher this year more as media, or will you be looking to buy, or both, or what?
Both. Because the spring show I didn't really get to spend any money at because I was saving for NRA, so I'm spending some money this time.
Well, we don't even, like Clover said, we don't even know if there's going to be NRA next year or not. So, explain to people, if you can, being from Tulsa, does Tulsa itself, does a city, do they realize, is there an economic impact that Wanenmacher brings twice a year? They say it's like 25,000 people at the Wanenmacher.
Oh, there's going to be a huge economic impact.
What's that?
There's going to be a huge economic impact. And all the news stations, local news stations, cover this show. It's like a big deal for Tulsa, every year. And they have, as long as I can remember, they've covered the show on all the local news and stuff. And usually always in a positive light, too.
Oh, the largest
gun show going to be interesting this year is, as of November 1st, which was last Friday at midnight, Oklahoma is now a constitutional carry state. So I wonder what will the vibe be different? Will people be talking about that at Wanenmacher, which I think would be interesting?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what are we going to say, Clover?
I was going to say with, what Snob said with the news covenant or whatever, with it being the largest gun show in the world, that's, sort of like a state fair almost, or, something a little bit has to cover it.
Yeah. And they usually have attendance that is as high as a state fair that's held in the same building or same area there, that Expo Square.
Right.
The attendance of the gun show is usually equal to that.
I'll tell you, I had somebody ask, I think on the Instagram, they were like, it'd be weird. Somebody might, he was from California, and I was talking about him.
California.
Maybe coming and setting up a table, and at one of the shows if you could get one. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. People in my parking lot there through the California license plate. And I'm like, I got to thinking, I thought that could be a cool game. Just walk in the parking lot and play the license plate. Because there is no telling how many states are represented that you're going to see in the parking lot.
Oh yeah,
that parking lot's fucking massive. Also, that will take you a whole day just in that.
Well, yeah. See, used to be I didn't get there early before I started going as a media and stuff, and just going to shop. You didn't ever worry about getting there early because if you got there early, you had to wait in the huge long lines to check any guns or anything. So we always got there around 10 or 11, and you had to park at least a quarter to a half mile away and walk in, no matter what the weather is.
I cannot, nor will I confirm or deny. Maybe, possibly, there's a dirt racetrack half a mile from the building. Cannot confirm that there might have been some drag racing at late at night in the dark on that track. I'm just saying.
On the horse track.
Happen. Yeah, some dirt track racing.
Yeah, but I mean, it
could have been a Ford Ranger. I think there could have been a Ford Ranger and a white Chevy van involved in that as well.
I'm just saying that there very well could have been. Yeah, Wanenmacher is awesome, and I'm not gonna be able to get there in time to go to J.M. Davis, but if you guys haven't been there as well, J.M. Davis Museum is about 20-30 minutes depending on traffic from Tulsa, north of Tulsa, and it's a museum that's free to go to. Mr. Davis had one of the largest gun collections. I would say like almost 15,000 firearms in this museum, and it's an unbelievable. It'll take you a full day to maybe more than that to go and look at all the guns in this place. It's phenomenal. So if you're in the area this weekend, please come to Tulsa. It's like $10 to get into the Wanenmacher. It's like I said. You can do anything you want. Clover, are you going to be looking to shop at all, or are you going to be doing more media stuff?
Well, I wrestle with that. I think every show.
Right.
I haven't had any money. I have squirreled back a little bit because there's a couple things that I do plan on trying to look for or put out the feelers with the group. I've talked about this, but Friday, once we get in and sort of get settled, we'll have to go through and divvy up the media passes and war game our strategy. We always do the hashtag game and let people know that's with the crew. I mean, I want to have a certain presence there, present a certain vibe and feel of professionalism and stuff. I believe that's important with the courtesy. They don't have to do what they have done with us for years. And so I want to respect that and make sure that everybody that is kind of representing that is doing what they need to do. So during that powwow, we'll probably talk a little bit about, make sure everybody knows what I'm looking for to keep an eye out, because you have to have multiple eyes. There's no way. But yeah, I got an old Smith & Wesson revolver that if I can't find the parts there, it's pretty much I'm going to have to sell this thing because I don't like having guns that don't work. Hopefully, that being the largest gun show in the world, I can find something there. And then there is a couple of infields that I know people in the past.
Yes, they have.
I went and been broke, have ended up finding and buying and get a good deal on, and it really ticked me off because I want or need. So hopefully I'll be able to maybe find. I can't pick up all the ones that I'm looking for, but pick up the best deal on one anyway. But yeah, as far as the media game, I've definitely got things lined out. In fact, I just talked today with my ammunition collector guy, and he wanted to know, what videos, what we had talked about in the past, and done videos he couldn't remember, and he was going to get some things together for us to do some more, more antique ammunition and talk about that kind of stuff. But for me, it's going to be, I'm going to approach it a lot more laid back, I think, than I have in the past. And it'll be a multifaceted thing, honestly, I think, for me. With the amount of people, it was a lot more pressing before, when we would go and it would be just me and you or, you and G or something. A lot more pressing at that point, or that was doing media anyway, me, you, and let's say G. it was a lot more pressing to be able to do some stuff and get some coverage and get it out there that way. When I go through the follow up and I contact Carrie for the next time and say, hey, we need some passes, we need to do this, I can actually show our work. We did this. Right. And so with the addition of people, not only is it cool because it's these people you hang out with online and you actually get to hang out in person and stuff like that, which is really awesome. But it takes some of the pressure off because we can divvy up the workload, and that gives us a little more time to, kind of kick back, enjoy the show, because it is the largest gun show in the world. So you definitely want to soak it up, and every time you go, soak it up a little bit. Every time you go, you're going to find something, run across something that you didn't know existed. You're going to run across something that's totally freaking cool, and you wish you had the money to buy, and stuff like that. So being able to walk around and look is very important as well.
G, I know you're on the tour right now, and I know that the route that you're currently on doesn't look like it's going to be conducive of you making it to Tulsa, but is there a way that you might be able to swing down for a day or so this weekend? G, can you hear me?
He's muted.
Yeah, he's muted, but he not be able to hear me. He's on the road, I think. So hopefully, if you hear me, you can come on back whenever you can get back in. For me, I'm going to be going, obviously, as media to do some coverage. But I actually have got a few things in mind to look for. I've got a couple things for me personally, but I've got some Christmas ideas for some people in my life that might be looking to take care of for Christmas. And
that is so nice of you to buy me a Christmas gift there.
I wasn't going to say anything, but Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I'll get you a lump of coal from Wanenmacher. But no, I do have some stuff that I've been at. What's that?
All he needs is a hydraulic press. He turned it into a diamond. That's a pretty good present.
That's right. I've been to Wanenmacher before doing the media thing. The last several times, obviously, we've been doing media, and so it is an interesting thing where I've gotten to experience it from both angles, as going there and being completely overwhelmed when you walk in as a buyer, a consumer, and going, holy shit, this is massive. And then going there as media, it's a whole different overwhelming problem that you have, because you're trying to figure out where to start your coverage at. But I think the cool thing about it is you're going to see familiar faces. You're going to see people that are there on every April and every November for years and years and years, and you're going to be able to say, hey, what's up and all that. But then there's always newer companies and all that. And I think the cool thing about Wanenmacher is, I don't think that people look at it this way, but I kind of think that it works out this way, is there are a lot of startup companies or young companies that are producing products that aren't even close to being ready to go to a SHOT Show or an NRAM. And even if they were ready, they may not be able to afford it, but they can afford to go to Wanenmacher. So Wanenmacher, for a lot of these small, just starting out companies, holster makers or whatever, target makers, and this is kind of their SHOT Show for them. And so there are a lot of just gun shops and a lot of people there, but there are some companies. And I remember, and I think both of you were there. This is about 2 years ago. Fort Knox not Fort Knox, but what's that? Fort Scott. Yeah, I don't know why I said Fort, but Fort Scott Munitions. They were at Wanenmacher, and they were a no-name company. Like, they were begging people. They were giving stuff away at their booth at Wanenmacher because no one ever heard them. They're from Kansas, and no one had ever heard of them. And then a year or two later, they've got one of the larger booths in the dungeon at SHOT Show, and they've got traffic, and now they're a well-known company. And they started out their big show every year. I talked to them, and Clover, I know you have, but their big thing every year for a while was Wanenmacher. That was what they built up to twice a year, because they were going to get sales at Wanenmacher, and that's how they kind of started. Now they're not obviously a Winchester or anything like that, but they're a known entity in the gun industry at SHOT Show now, and I think that that's a cool thing. Also, is you're going to be able to maybe meet some companies. I know Clover's got some really good friends and contacts through Wanenmacher that he's known now basically since the inception of their companies, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've had conversation with Walther about this, and Walther's just right down the road anyway, and they have actually considered. They haven't yet, but you're talking about a big company like Walther considering going in and setting up. They were like, well, with the venue there, they've got room to bring in their displays and all their stuff, and they were even considering that at this point. So it definitely gets a lot of traction. It gets a lot of traffic and everything else. One thing that Wes confirmed with me last night is there's two different Wanenmachers in my mind.
Yeah.
The April and the November are different. The vibe's different. The what's there seems to be different, and that seems to be having gone multiple times in a row now. That seems to be consistent. And Wes out there, he lives in the area, been far more than I. He sort of confirmed that in April you have a lot of the collector, guy that collected a bunch of rifles, the individual seller, really cool collections and rare items and things like that. Whereas on the industry side, the manufacturing side, new product side, that sort of thing, that's more the November show is when you see more of that stuff around. So, that's it's not the same show twice a year to me. And that's what's rough because and thankfully it's not a terrible trip for me to make, which is great. But that's what's rough with I can't bring myself to not go one time each year because it's different every time. You know what I'm saying? It's I'm gonna miss something. I'm miss April. I'm gonna miss some of the cool old rare stuff that I would normally not get to see. And if I miss in November, I'm potentially gonna miss some new products or new startups or something like that. I'm not gonna get to see. So it's one of the things where they got you kind of screwed into going twice a year, unfortunately.
Right. The interesting thing about that also is you have, like you said, there are kind of seem to be two separate Wanenmachers. And once again, a lot of them are going to be the same people, but you do. And we even noticed that the first time you and I went as media, I think the first time we went as media was November. And so I'd gone that previous April, just going up there because I'm only like 4.5 hours away. But November we went as media. And then in April, we went as media, and there was a different vibe. And we're like, I wonder if, because even we had noticed it like right away that November was, in my eyes, better. I mean, for what I'm looking for.
Remember us that first April as media after going in November being kind of let down because we were like, what do we do now? And we just had to focus on different things. Is what we had to do. We just had to switch it up. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. But that April is actually when I found my ammunition guy that I had known for years.
Yeah.
But because it was April and I really didn't see a lot of the manufacturing, I had some time to walk around and I just stumbled across a dude and I'm like, hey, Dwayne, what is up, bro? And I'm like, I mean, how long you been coming? He's like, my whole life, and of course, camo is a perfect place for him to buy, sell, trade, right? And pad his own collection even. So it makes sense that he's within a few hours. I think 4 hours of Tulsa is where he lives or something like that. So, it makes sense for him to be there. And so, had April been like that, I wouldn't have never known that. Even though I know the guy online, I see him post camo and do stuff all the time, I would have never known he was there. I just stumbled across the dude. And so now every April I have that opportunity, and I do in November as well, to make sure that I hit him up and get some cool, information and show and tell about some antique ammunition, which is neat.
Right. Now, Idaho Rogers out there says he's looking for an 1885 high wall Winchester chambered in 7mm rim mag with a 28-inch barrel. The search continues. So
it's there. I promise you.
It will probably be in Tulsa if you can make it to Tulsa. I'm not saying it's going to be, but there's a good chance that it could be there. So if you're going to be in Tulsa, come on with it. G, you're back. Can you hear me, G?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yeah. I know that you're on the road with the Gun Show Loophole Tour, and the route that you've been taking maybe not be conducive to getting to Tulsa, but is there any way that you might make it down to Tulsa this weekend for a little bit?
The route is going to Tulsa. What are you talking about?
Okay, I didn't know. I knew where you are going, where you have been, and I didn't know if you were going to come back towards Tulsa or not. So that's wonderful. So we're going to get to see you this weekend. Good.
Has Snob made some kind of ultimatum that I'm not aware of?
Well, we already sold the
Don't worry about my ultimatums.
Yeah, Weston says, I think that I met Ghost, Clover, and G for the first time. We had a table. Yeah, we have a table there every Wanenmacher, so we'll have a table there as well. The gun channels will be well represented. We'll have some swag there. We'll have some cool stuff for the kids. We'll have do we want to tell them what's going to be the table? Did y'all tell them before? You make
absolutely. Absolutely.
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll have first of all, I mean, everybody with with gun channels that comes as part of the media, they'll have some swag. So I mean, you'll have the opportunity to that. We're gonna have we'll have candy bowl, candy dish out there. So, if you need to curb that sweet tooth for a little while or whatever while you're walking around. And obviously, I mean, at any given time, there's going to be some of us hanging out at the table. So, I mean, it's great to stop by and have a conversation and heck, get a selfie if you're into that, whatever. And then, for the kids, we've got, some water pistols out there that we have that we started doing. I don't remember whose idea that was, or at this point, it's been several times we've done it. But they're water pistols, and kids will actually get a sticker, hopefully, maybe, possibly. I don't know how many of those snobs got left. And then they'll get a little water pistol along with, some information. Yeah, some information there. The Second Amendment, along with some links to 4-H and Eddie Eagle and stuff like that, included with that water pistol. That hopefully that give them some enjoyment. I mean, kids go to gun shows all the time, and there's oftentimes there's not a lot of stuff there for the kids, right? So, and if it is, it's for sale, and the kids have to nag the parents to potentially buy it or this, that, and the other. So we thought, what better way to maybe bring a smile to a kiddo's face and really make an impression? We talk about that next generation, right? And what better way to make an impression than that kid? That may be that kid's first gun show, right? Or something like that, first gun show experience. Or maybe it's not. Maybe they've been to gun shows in the past, several, and just walked around with dad and left with nothing. And they had to walk around a gun show and look at all this cool stuff and left with nothing. What an experience to show up as a kid as a gun show and actually be able to bring something home. And not only that, but, they didn't have to nag mom or dad for it, right? And mom and dad didn't have to break off a few bucks for it or anything like that. So I think that's something that, again, I don't know who come up with the idea. It doesn't matter at this point. It's a great idea. Enjoy doing it. And I think it's definitely a worthwhile effort.
Yeah, we're going to bribe the kids with water, guns, and candy. You can't beat it. Now, Weston out there wants to know, are we going to be in the same place? We've been in a couple different places over the last few years, but are we going to be in the same place we've been the last couple Wanenmachers over by the bathroom area?
No, you had to miss last time.
I did miss last time. I did.
Our table changed last time. Now, it will be in the same place this time. So,
and it was much better in my opinion.
It is further. It's on that same wall. Our table was on that wall. We were behind the safes, right? Which was a sucky area in my opinion, because of the safes. It was sucky as far as getting traffic. It was pretty good as a staging area, but it sucked as far as traffic. And so it's further down the wall now. Further away from the bathrooms. If you know the tactical girls or whatever you call them, right? That's a pretty easy to tell spot in Tulsa because all the weirdos hang out there. But the table is pretty much behind the tactical girls, which is kind of cool too because that increases traffic, right? We're sort of on the way to the bathroom.
It's cool being behind them for some reason.
We're behind all the hot chicks and close to the bathroom. So what better place for traffic, right?
That sounds nasty. I'm just saying. Just saying. Yeah. So yeah, come check us out. We'll have swag, and like I said, come to the gun show, man. It's a great place. Yeah, Midnight Range TMS was talking about last Tuesday. John Moon passed away at 103 and was the last Marine to be on Iwo Jima. And yeah, so we're talking veteran stuff. We're talking Marine Corps birthday this weekend. On Sunday, if you're a Marine out there and you're at the gun show, wear a Marine shirt. You'll be a bunch of people wearing Marine Corps shirts and all that. So, but yeah, that is Marine Corps birthday is Sunday. So happy birthday to all my fellow Marines out there. And Monday is Veterans Day. So celebrate it every day, but celebrate it next Monday. Buy someone a cup of coffee. Do something if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to do something, buy them a cup of coffee or whatever. That being said, start going through the room. G, how's the tour going? Do you want to plug anything that's going on right now?
It's going good. Just no better friend, no worse enemy. Semper Fi.
Hey, I want to let you know because I've seen you when it's cold. And just letting you know that this weekend is supposed to get down to the 20s in Tulsa. So I hope that you brought a jacket.
I need one of these like car washes, except where the garage doors can come down on both sides, and then we can just turn the heat on in there.
There you go. I've literally, and Clover has to, it was spitting snow one year at Wanenmacher, and I literally was out smoking with G, and his teeth were like just chattering. So the Arizona kid did not like the cold a whole lot, but no. Snob, what you got come up? You got anything that you want to plug?
I've been really busy trying to work a bunch and get stuff done. So it's been a busy time for me. So I ain't even put out any videos in the last week, but you can go check out what's there if you don't know me. That's all I got.
Thanks for coming on, bud. Clove, you got anything you want to plug?
Yeah. I have finished up on some filming and stuff today. Hope to finalize everything tomorrow, and then before we head out for Tulsa, get been working on trying to get one review thing released a week here, and get caught up on this doggone backlog of stuff. So hopefully we'll get that out before we leave for Tulsa. Be patient with that because of potentially having to do that through mobile if things don't work out. It may suck as far as notifications and other things, but there's notes out there, so check the channel. As far as when we roll into Tulsa, and I just put it in the chat, I was talking to Wes. Mark from Umarex, which if you know Umarex, that's the air gun company. Mark from Umarex is supposed to be in Tulsa, and so yeah, we're going to do a Firearm Friday live. It is that Friday is the second Friday of the month, so we're going to do a Firearm Friday live, 8 p.m. Friday night. And I don't know if we're going to do it at the house, probably with as cold as it seems to be up there this weekend and all. Probably going to do it from the house, but we'll have Mark from Umarex on. So if you got any questions about the air guns they have and stuff like that,
you got some badass air guns, that's for sure.
I think it will be, some of the licensed, air pistols they got and stuff are absolutely amazing. And so look up some of the Umarex stuff, get those questions ready. Join us 8 p.m. Eastern live from Tulsa with Mark from Umarex. Should be a good time. Hopefully, if everybody in the house, we can kind of gather everybody around the kitchen table or something, maybe, and set the camera up, and it'll be kind of like a live chat, but actually everybody will be live, from the camera instead of on a screen. So that could be an interesting concept too.
There you go. As far as me, please check out anything that you want to. If you don't like it, fantastic. If you like it, hey, appreciate it. I will have a video being released on Sunday for the Marine. I'd probably release it Saturday, but for the Marine Corps birthday, and then I'll have another one for Veterans Day, kind of a little tribute I always do every year. Other than that, gonna have some podcasts coming out. Got some cool podcasts already recorded. I haven't been able to record a lot this year for different reasons. but I've kind of starting to catch up on some stuff. I've got literally 13 videos that I need to get made on different things that are on my whiteboard. So I'm trying to catch up with that. And so the next month or so, there might be a flood of shit that's coming from the channel. So if you like that, great. If not, sorry, turn it off. But there's going to be a lot of content coming down the line here because I'm starting to catch up a little bit. So
Can I ask a question?
yeah, sure.
You've got a backlog like I do. Why is it that all the cool stuff and the cool companies contact you once you have a backlog?
And it's always about the same time.
You know, you have this backlog of umpteen zillion things you've got to get done, and it's like this amazing company or products like, hey, we want you to do some stuff for us. I'm like,
I've had to turn down a couple things in the last month that said, can you wait till after SHOT Show?
yeah.
And they're like, well, I mean, sure, you know, and I think they're wanting to get it out before SHOT Show. But I was like, look, I've had some things going on this year that I haven't been able to do anything for a while. And I've got, like I said, 13 videos. And I'm like, well, yeah, we can wait till then. I was like, that would be great for me because I've already kind of promised these other companies. I've got several firearms in my possession that I've had for several months now that I haven't been able to do shit with. And luckily they understand what I've told them what's going on. They understand what's going on, and they've been great to deal with. But yeah, I've had some stuff that I just haven't been able to get anything done. So like I said, life is starting to relax a little bit. So you're starting to you're going to start seeing a flood of content come out. So I'm really excited about that. I've missed going to the range. I'm getting back to the range now at least a couple times a week, and it's awesome. So looking forward to do that stuff. Got some training videos coming out with some room clearing, both with rifle and pistol and low light and with light. So there's going to be some cool stuff coming out in the training series as well. So looking forward to that as well. Thanks everyone that hang on, man. It's been over 2 hours. This has been a long one. I appreciate everyone who, Clover and G and Snob and Budget for stopping in. We had a lot of topics to kind of cover tonight, so we went a little bit longer. I apologize, but thank you all for sticking around. For you guys watching in replay or in podcast form, I'm sorry it's 2 hours. A lot of people can't stick around for 2 hours. I might even break this up into 2 different ones or something, or break it into several different ones depending on the topic. But thanks for everyone for watching and for listening later on. And we will see you hopefully this weekend in Tulsa. To all my fellow Marine brothers and sisters out there, Semper Fidelis, happy birthday, happy 244. And to all my fellow veterans out there, happy Veterans Day. We shall see you next week and have a Tulsa chat, maybe. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Semper Fi.